Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the very first time you found me, yay, finally, I've been waiting for you. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate your support. So, my goal is to save you time and money by pointing out the content and the quality of films so you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Hitman. This romantic comedy slash crime thriller is now playing on Netflix, as well as in some theaters. The movie is rated R, and I'll give you some tips for parents in just a minute. It's an hour and 53 minutes long, but the time flies by pretty quickly. And my overall movie review mom grade is an A minus. I actually got a kick out of this movie. So I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films by the same director. But before we do that, this movie review is sponsored by Marie Callender's Pies. Now, yes, you can drive over to a Marie Callender's if there's one near you, but Amazon now delivers through Whole Foods. So click on the link below and you're going to see one of my favorite all-time pies from Marie Callender's, which is their classic pecan pie. Nobody else in my family likes pecan pie, so I can order this, buy it, and eat it all by myself. What I like about these is they're frozen and you can pop them out whenever you want to eat. You don't have to eat the whole thing. You can cut up a little slice. Now, the reason I'm featuring this product is because there's a line in the movie where the leading man and the leading lady have a conversation. So Madison, who's played by Adria Arjona, asks, "You enjoying your pie?" And this is kind of a running theme throughout the film. And Glenn Powell's character says, "All pie is good pie." So pies all around. All right, back to the movie. So, in a nutshell, before the movie begins, we see these words written on the screen, quote, "This is based on a true story, unfortunately." So the real man the story is about passed away early on in the movie's production. So he never got to see the final film. The director never got to meet him and only just had conversations with him on the phone, which is interesting. So it's about a very straight-laced, nerdy, boring professor, Gary Johnson, who gets a side hustle working on data for the police department. When their fake contract hitman needs to be replaced, they call on Gary Johnson. And as it turns out, Gary Johnson has a talent for disguises and acting as he engages with people who want a hitman to kill someone. He gets romantically involved with one of his clients, which propels him into morally dubious territory. The dark comedy was directed by Academy Award winner Richard Linklater, who also co-wrote the screenplay with Glenn Powell and Skip Hollandsworth. Linklater and Powell also helped produce the movie. Well, it's a big hit on Netflix, and I'm excited to tell you about it. First, let me give you some tips for parents. It's not necessarily a family-friendly movie. There is profanity, including a lot of F-bombs. We see an unmarried couple in intimate moments, mostly some skin, facial expressions, noises. We see a shirtless man and a woman in only her underwear in one scene. We see them in bed, undercovers mostly, in a bathtub, and doing some sexy role play. There's a lot of steamy action in the movie, but it doesn't cross the line into absolutely no for children. Although when we watched it, my husband fast forwarded through those moments. We didn't know how far it was going to go. There is a lot of talk of murder as people pay Glenn Powell's character to kill their target. We do see a bloodless murder take place. There are some themes that are illustrated really well, which are murder, of course, crime, dishonesty, identity, relationships, and choices and consequences. Now, there were a lot of things, obviously, I really liked about this movie. First of all, Glenn Powell is the it guy nowadays, showing up in serious dramas, action flicks, and romantic comedies. Now, I always thought he was just eye candy, but I was truly impressed with his ability to create completely different characters in his role as Gary Johnson in this movie. So well done. Already, he has been nominated for Best Actor by the New Mexico Film Critics. We'll get to see him again next month when he's in his next movie called Twisters when it hits the screen. I am so excited about that movie. And from what I can tell so far, this is a movie you're going to need to see on the big screen, not on Netflix. Well, it's not on Netflix. It is going to the big screen. Glenn's leading lady is the beautiful Adria Arjona, as I mentioned, and together they have some sizzling chemistry. The rest of the cast does a great job of bringing us additional quirky, entertaining characters and includes Retta, Austin Emilio, Sanjay Rao, and all of the people who wanted someone killed. This is not a laugh out loud comedy. Instead, there's a lot of subtle humor in amusing conversations and crazy situations. Because you're worried about various people getting caught, the tension is fairly high throughout the entire movie. We see lots of examples of people making choices and then having to live with their consequences. There are two twists that I did not see coming. At its core, the movie is a steamy rom-com. Now, with all of that praise, there were some things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done differently or better. For example, some will find the ending to be unsatisfying or even unfair. Now, I don't want to give you any spoilers, so I'm just going to leave it at that. In Act Two, where the romance really picks up steam, I worried that the movie was just going to be an ongoing series of scenes showing Glen Powell making out with this beautiful woman. Luckily, we get back to the fun hitman story. Now, as a university professor myself, I wanted to see more scenes where Glen Powell's character has fascinating lectures and conversations with his students. The scenes are good and well placed, however, and so I did really like those. One of the lessons of the movie, which is preached by Gary Johnson to his students, is that there are no absolutes in life. Now, I think some people are absolutely going to disagree with that philosophy. And in the end, you're like, really? Is that what the movie is teaching us? Is that what we want our kids to hear from this movie? Now, whenever I watch movies, I write down funny lines and interesting lines simply so you can get a taste for the dialogue and the script writing quality. I wrote down a bunch so you can see all of them on my moviereviewmom.com website, but I'll share some of them with you right now. So some of the funny lines are when Claudette, who's one of the cops, says to Gary, who was just doing data, nerdy computer stuff, and she says, "Congrats, Gary, you just got promoted to contract killer." And he's like, "What?" And so as he's going into his first gig as this contract killer undercover, he's talking to himself and he says, "Breathe, think hitman thoughts." And so he slowly learns to create these various hitman characters because he knows that they're personas that the other person is expecting. And so he plays into that expectation. He says, "I'm forever fascinated and amazed by the folks who actually think that some guy they just met 10 minutes ago for not that much money would risk the death penalty to help them with some crazy murderous scheme. I almost envy their naivete and passion," which is exactly what these scenarios are. It is crazy. And then there were some really good, interesting lines. There's a character named Sylvia, and she's giving this advice to Gary Johnson when she says, "You have to put yourself out there. You have to take risks and get out of your comfort zone because life is short. You have to live passionately and on your own terms." And so Glen Powell's character thinks and he says, "Well, I have a 3-word response to that. Absolutely." And so that's kind of where we get that theme of the absolute terms, absolute philosophy of life, that there are no absolutes. Another interesting line that he says to someone is, "Oh man, you would not believe the side of humanity I'm hanging out with." And a lot of it is seeing how love has just curdled into hate and murder is just the best way out. What a sad statement that is on humanity as a whole. All right. While I was watching this movie, I instantly thought of three movies you definitely should watch. Now, these are by the same director, Richard Linklater. So the first one is Before Sunrise, which is a romance that is so sweet. And it's actually a trilogy. That's the first one. After that is Before Midnight. And then there's Before Sunset. And I really liked all of them. They're kind of classic romance. So definitely check those out. And then in a completely different tone, we've got School of Rock, which is such a fun movie. And I've seen it a bunch of times. And the other day I was just scrolling through YouTube and I actually found there was sort of a reunion of some of the stars in the School of Rock comedy slash musical. It's not really a musical, but you know, that movie. And I was like, whoa. And I had to watch it. They got some of the characters on an actual stage in Austin, Texas, and sang the classic song from the movie. Definitely check that out. And then another movie that again is totally different, is really amazing, is called Boyhood. Now, the director did something very unusual and took a risk. What he did is he filmed this young boy, child actor, and did some scenes, waited another year or two, did some more scenes, then watched as he got older and kept filming for years so that this story could unfold organically. Well, in the sense that it was the same child actor growing up literally on the screen before our eyes. It's also very touching, the story itself. And I just admire that commitment to create such a project that they knew going in was going to take a very long time and not see a paycheck, in box office sales for years to come. Really, really admirable. Definitely check that one out as well. All right, that's it. I always talk way too long. I get excited and go off on tangents. So thank you so much for sticking around. If my reviews are helpful, give them a thumbs up and comment down below. And I will catch you in the next review. Bye for now.